10 interesting facts you may not know about the Battle of Culloden. 1. It is believed to have been the first time that a British army used bayonets in battle. Prior to this, bayonets had primarily been used as a tool for hunting and cooking, rather than as a weapon. However, during the Jacobite Rising of 1745, the British Army equipped its soldiers with bayonets in order to give them an advantage in close combat against the Jacobites, who were armed primarily with swords and muskets. The use of bayonets at Culloden proved to be effective, as the Jacobites were not prepared for this type of close-quarters fighting and suffered heavy losses as a result. 2. The Battle of Culloden only lasted for 40 minutes. Despite the significant size of the Jacobite army, 5,000 men, and the fact that they were heavily outnumbered by the British forces, 9,000 men, the battle was over very quickly. This may seem strange, given that wars and battles in history often lasted for days, weeks, or even months. However, the Jacobite army was made up of poorly trained and poorly equipped Highland clansmen, while the British forces were well-trained and well-equipped professional soldiers. This likely contributed to the quick outcome of the battle. 3. Some of the Jacobite clans refused to charge when ordered to do so by Prince Charles. The MacDonalds, for example, refused to attack, and the Clan Chattan veered off course to avoid a boggy area, causing confusion among the other clans. This may seem strange as the Jacobite army was known for its fierce charges, but it is possible that the clans were demoralized by the prolonged artillery fire they had endured and may have felt that their chances of victory were slim. 4. The Royal Écossais, a French unit made up of British deserters, fought for the Jacobite army during the Rising. It is unusual for soldiers to desert from their own military and join the opposing side, particularly when fighting for a foreign power. It is not clear what motivated them to desert the British Army and join the Jacobite Royal Scots, but it is possible that some of these deserters were Jacobite sympathisers who saw an opportunity to support the Stewart cause by joining the regiment, while others may have been motivated by a desire to escape punishment or by the prospect of better pay and conditions in the French army. 5. Major General Humphrey Bland, who led the pursuit of the fleeing Jacobite forces after the battle, reportedly gave quarter to none but about 50 French officers and soldiers. This means that he only allowed about 50 French officers and soldiers to surrender, and all other Jacobite forces were killed. No quarter given was a military tactic used by the British government forces. It meant that no mercy would be shown to the Jacobite rebels and that surrender would not be accepted. Any Jacobites who were captured on the battlefield would not be taken prisoner, but would instead be killed. This was a brutal and ruthless tactic, designed to ensure that the Jacobite rebellion was crushed once and for all. The use of no quarter was reportedly motivated by a desire to end the Jacobite threat and prevent the rebels from rising up again. 6. The Hessians were soldiers from Germany and Austria, who were hired by the British government to fight in the Battle of Culloden against the Jacobites. Hessian troops were a common feature of European wars in the 18th century, and they were often hired out to other countries as mercenaries. In the case of the Battle of Culloden, the Hessians made up part of the forces fighting for the House of Hanover and the British government. It is not clear exactly how many Hessians were involved in the battle or what role they played, but their presence shows the international dimension of the conflict and the willingness of the British government to hire foreign troops to fight against the Jacobites. 7. Before the Battle of Culloden, Charles Edward Stewart and his Jacobite forces had been on the offensive, winning several battles and occupying several towns in England and Scotland. However, they ultimately turned back and retreated to Scotland when they failed to gain the promised support of English and French Jacobites, and it became clear that they would not be able to defeat the Hanoverian forces. This retreat is seen by some historians as a crucial mistake that ultimately led to the Jacobite defeat at Culloden. 8. After the Battle of Culloden, the Duke of Cumberland, the leader of the Hanoverian forces, earned the nickname Butcher due to his harsh treatment of the Jacobite prisoners and the brutal suppression of the Highland culture that followed the battle. He implemented a series of laws that sought to suppress the traditional way of life of the Highlands, including the wearing of traditional Highland dress and the playing of bagpipes. This period of suppression became known as the Highland Clearances, as many Highlanders were forced off their land and displaced. 9. After the Battle of Culloden, Charles Edward Stewart fled to the Isle of Skye and then to the Western Isles before eventually making his way to the continent. He spent the rest of his life in exile, living in various places including France and Italy. Despite his defeat at Culloden, he remained a symbol of the Jacobite cause and was widely admired by many people in Scotland and elsewhere. He died in Rome in 1788 at the age of 67. 10. The battlefield at Culloden is now preserved as a historical site, and is maintained by the National Trust for Scotland. Visitors to the site can explore the battlefield and learn about the history of the Jacobite Rising and the Battle of Culloden through exhibits and interpretation panels. The site also includes a visitor centre, where visitors can watch a film about the battle and the Jacobite cause, and a memorial cairn, which was erected in honour of the Jacobite soldiers who died in the battle. The battlefield is a popular tourist attraction, with many visitors coming to pay their respects to the fallen and learn more about this important moment in British and Scottish history.